Okay, now we're going to do 5.5. This one should be pretty quick. It's not, we don't have a lot of stuff to go over with this one. And what it's going to do is get us ready for adding and subtracting fractions, which is what we'll do on Monday. Monday in class, when we have class again. So let's talk about 5.5. This is the least common multiple. So what you're trying to find, so let's do this problem. So I'm going to use 10. Sorry, that didn't write very good. 10 and 6. So I want the least common multiple of 10 and 6. What the least common multiple is, so think about it. The least means the lowest number, right? Common means that these guys have to have it in common, right? And it's a multiple. A multiple is something that if you multiply these guys by something, it gives you one of the answers. Okay, there are a couple ways to do it. One is through prime factorization. I don't like that way. It usually confuses more people, especially considering all the other ways that we've used prime factorization. So I only teach finding the least common multiple by listing numbers, is what our book's calling it, or just listing the multiples. If you can do it mentally, if you just want to find one that way, it works. You don't have to, when we start adding and subtracting, you don't have to have the least common multiple or the lowest number. You will make your life a lot easier if you pick a lower number, just because then your numbers aren't as large to work with. But it's not necessary. And then in the end, if you do pick one that's not the lowest number, if it's a higher number than the ideal choice, then you'll just end up having to reduce your answer in the end. So, okay, so let's talk about how to find the least common multiple. So if we have 10 and 6, we want to find the lowest number that both of those basically would divide into. So you just start listing all the multiples. So the multiples for 10 are like 1 times 10 is 10, 2 times 10 is 20, 3 times 10 is 30, 4 times 10 is 40, 5 times 10 is 60, or 50, sorry, 6 times 10 is 60, 7 times 10 is 70. And you don't necessarily have to go on and on. What I'll usually do, if I'm doing this approach, is do a few from each number and just keep going back and forth, bouncing back and forth, list some here, list some there, list some here, list some there, until you get the common one. Because it might be the first number, and so then if you just keep going on and on, that was kind of pointless. So let's do multiples of 6. So 1 times 6 is 6, 2 times 6 is 12, 3 times 6 is 18, 4 times 6 is 24, 5 times 6 is 30. Oh, what do you know? I've got a match. So you go until you have the same number in each column, a matching number in each column. Okay, and again, you want the lowest number. So 30 is my least common multiple for 10 and 6. And that's all there is to it. It's really that easy. Okay, let's do one with 3 numbers. So let's do 6, 9, and 15. Okay, so we're going to list multiples of 6. 1 times 6 is, I'm going to do a different color. Sorry. 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 6 is 18. I'm going to do a few in this one as well. 9 times 1 is 1. 2 times 9 is 18. 3 times 9, 3 times 9 is 27. Oh, so far I have 18, but would 15 make an 18? No. So 1 times 15 is 15, 2 times 15 is 30, 3 times 15 is 45, 4 times 15 is 60. I'm going to stop there because our numbers are getting kind of big. Let's build these up again. So we were at 3 times 9 gave us 27. 4 times 9 gives us 36. 5 times 9 gives us 45. Ooh, that one has a 45. Let's keep going with this one. 4 times 6 is 24. 5 times 6 is 30. 6 times 6 is 36. Oh, we have 36. Notice, like, this one has 30 and this one has 30, but this one doesn't. This one has 36 and this one has 36, but this one doesn't. This one has 45 and this one has 45. This one doesn't. They all three have to have the same number. So we're just going to keep going. So I'm at 6 times 6 is 36. So 7 times 6 is 42. Make sure you can see what I'm writing. So 7 times 6 was 42. 8 times 6 is 48. 9 times 6 is 54. 10 times 6 is 60. We'll stop there. Let's do 9. 9 times 5 was 45. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 7 is 63. 9 times 8 is 72. 9 times 9 is 81. 9 times 10 is 90. So we're still going and we still don't have a number that matches yet. Maybe we need to bring this one up a little more. So we went 4 times 15. 5 times 15 is 75. 6 times 15 is 90. Ooh, we have two 90s. Maybe, let's see if 6 will produce a 90. So we did 6 times 10, 6 times 11 is 66, 6 times 12 is 72. Now remember, when you're multiplying, you're just adding that number over and over. So like 6 plus 6 is 12, 12 plus 6 is 18, plus 6, plus 6, plus 6, plus 6. So I'm just going to keep adding 6 in this column. And this one I just added 9 every time. This one I added 15 every time. Okay, so 72 plus 6 is 78, because it doesn't matter what we multiplied by. So I went down to 78. I'm going to come up here to keep going for that one. Can you see? Let's see, 84, and plus 6 more is 90. Oh, so I've got 90 in every column. So my least common multiple for 6, 9, and 15 is 90. That one was a little larger, and so it took a little more time, but you will have some that will take not very long and some that will take a little more time. Okay, the way I usually do it, just to give you maybe a shortcut, is I start with the larger number. And I just start thinking of multiples of it, because it's a little more limited for it, and it's going to grow faster, if that makes sense. So then I just do the multiples of the larger number and then think through the other number. In this case, we have 2 other numbers, so I have to think through both of those. But you don't have to do it that way. If you want to just list, then just list. Okay, let's do one with variables. So if I have, let's do 12x and 8y. Okay, with this one, you treat the coefficients the same as we've been doing. So we're just going to list, 12 times 1 is 12, plus 12 more is 24, plus 12 more is 36. Or you could do 3 times 12 is 36, 4 times 12 is 48, so on. Let's do our 8s. 8, 16, 24. Oh, look. You've got our number. So there's our number. What do we do with the variables, though? Okay, this is the thing. Remember, it's the least common multiple. So common. So they both have to have it in common. So I'm going to write my number, the 24, but now I look at the variables, okay? This number that we end up here, the least common multiple, it's got to have all of the variables that they have in order to have everything kind of accounted for. So it's kind of the opposite of when we were factoring. We were trying to pull out the lowest amount that they had in common. This time we're trying to kind of basically include everything that they have. So this one has an x and this one has a y, so in my least common multiple I have to have the x and the y. Okay, let's do another one with some more variables, and so maybe that will help you see a little better. Let's do, maybe I'll do a pretty easy number. How about 20, and we'll do h to the 5th, k to the 3rd, and that's 20. I don't know how well you can see that too. Sorry, I'll erase it. Does that look okay? Sorry. And the other number we're going to do is 30 h squared times k. Okay, so again, do the coefficient first, the numbers. So if I'm listing multiples of 20, I've got 20, 40, 60, and hopefully you catch, oh, well, if I do 30, and 2 times 30 is, whoops, 60. So then you catch that 60 is your least common multiple as far as numbers. Okay, so my least common multiple, I've got 60. And now I've got to, like I said, include the maximum amount of variables from each of them. So this one has 5 K's, or 5 H's, excuse me, and this one has 2. So in my least common multiple, remember you're multiplying, this number is getting bigger. So I've got to include 5 H's. So this one will include, because I can multiply this one by 3 more to make the 5. So what you're trying to make here is a number that if you multiply this guy by something, and it doesn't have to be the same thing. So I'm going to multiply this guy by something, and I'm trying to make this number. So I can multiply the 20 by a 3 and make it a 60. The h to the 5th, I don't have to multiply it by anything. I can just write my h to the 5th. And then my k, I'm going to do k to the 3rd. Because over here, if I multiply the 30 by 2, I get my 60. And if I multiply the h squared times 3 more h's, then I'll get my h to the 5th. If I multiply my k by 2 more k's, then I get my k to the 3rd. I couldn't say I messed up and I wasn't thinking straight, and I was thinking, oh, I'm going to take the lower number, so I'm going to do h squared and just a k. Okay? I can't make this from this by multiplying anything. I can do the 20 times 3 and get my 60, but I can't multiply this h to the 5th by anything to make it h to the 2nd. I'd have to divide. We're not doing that. We're multiplying. Remember, it's the least common multiple. So you've got to be able to multiply this by something to get this. So that's why we have to have all or the highest amount of variables in either of these. So this one, there are 5 here and 2 there, so I've got to have 5. There's 3 here and 1 there, so I've got to have 3 k's. Okay, and it doesn't have to be from the same one. So it just so happened that this one had the most h's and the most k's, and this one had the least. It doesn't matter. This one could have the most h's and this one could have the most k's. All we need is to make sure we notice which one has, or what the most is, and then put them down here so we can recreate them. I think once we start doing the addition and subtraction, so basically what we're doing here is trying to work with how to get a common denominator. And when we start doing that, I think it will make more sense. So again, just try to embrace it and try to get the idea and do a few problems. And then hopefully it'll form that little dendrite. And then when we do it on Monday, you've got it. Okay? So let's try some with fractions. And this might help as well. You're going to have a few problems where they've, instead of just writing the number, they've given it as a fractions. And so we're going to kind of work with getting the least common denominator. So they write it like this. So 3/10 and 5/6. So they want you to write them with equivalent fractions and get a common denominator. So they want the least common denominator. So again, your least common denominator is basically your least common multiple of your two denominators. So like we had before, you're just looking at the 10 and the 6. So again, we can just list our multiples. I'm going to write them out to the side over here. So 10, 20, 30, whoops, didn't write my 0, 30, and hopefully in counting those, this is where I said I like to start with the largest number, do the multiples of it, and then hopefully you run into one that you go, oh, well, I know that 6 can be multiplied by 5 to make 30. So you're looking for a number that you can multiply these fractions by to make. So I'm going to write 30 is my common denominator for both of these guys. And now you go, okay, what did I multiply this 10 by to make that change to a 30? Well, I'd have to multiply it by 3. What if I do it to the bottom? I have to do it to the top. I don't have to do times by 3 to this fraction, though, because it's not part of this fraction. Okay? It's a whole separate fraction. I can do whatever I want to that fraction. It's just if I do something to this fraction's denominator, I have to do the same thing to the numerator. Okay, so 3 times 3 becomes 9, and we already knew that 10 times 3 gave us our 30. Okay. Okay, over here, what did I do to the 6 to make 30? I would have to times it by 5. So I have to do the same thing to the top that I did to the bottom. 5 times 5 is 25. So there are my two fractions with common denominators, and that's all you'll do for those problems. Okay. We'll try one with variables, and then we'll call it good. I'm thinking there's one that you're going to have to do. Yeah, I will assign it. So there's one you're going to have to do that has 3 listed. We'll just kind of walk through it. So it's got 3/4, 1/6, and 7/9. And it wants you to write those in, with the least common denominators. So again, I would look at my largest one and start doing multiples of 9. So 9, no, those guys won't go into it. 20 or 18, 6 will, but 4 won't. 27, no. What am I doing? 4 times 9 is 36. That one will, but that one won't. It might be easier just to list these. So 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 60. These guys will be 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, and I'm probably going to have to keep going, 54, not 54, Yes, 54. And 60, we'll stop there. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36. Oh, so I've got 36 in all of them. So that's my least common multiple for those. Okay. So then that becomes my lowest common denominator. So I'm going to write 36. I'm going to write all of them with the denominator of 36. And how do we write equivalent fractions? We just multiply them, basically. So what did I multiply? Not multiply all the fractions, but you multiply the fraction by a number, a constant for the upstairs and the downstairs. So 4 times what made 36? 4 times 9. So I have to do the numerator by 9 as well. So 3 times 9 is 27. 6 times what makes 36? 6 times 6 makes 36. So I have to do the same to the top. 1 times 6 is 6. 9 times what makes 36? 4. So times the top by 4. 7 times 4 is 28. So I just walked you through the whole problem, even though I said I was just going to set it up. That's okay. Let's do one with variables and we are done. Okay, so variables, let's do, how about 7 over 10 y to the third, sorry, I've got to see what it says, z, and 5z over 6y. Okay, so look at the numbers first. So 10 multiples are 10, 20, 30. Oh, I know I can multiply the 6 by something and make it 30. So I know 30 is going to be in my denominator that I want to make. Okay. Now look at the variables. Okay, I've got to be able to multiply this one or this one to get the other one. And if I multiply this by more y's, I'm not going to get a single y. But if I multiply this guy by more y's, I could get that one. So if I multiply them by 2 more, then I'll get a y to the third. So then I know this is the y I want to keep. So I want y to the third because I could multiply this guy by more y's and make y to the third. Okay? And now the z. This guy doesn't even have a z downstairs. You don't even look at the upstairs. Don't look at the numerators at all. All we care about is getting a least common denominator right now. Okay? I can multiply this side by a z and get a z. So I know I just need a z in my denominator. Now we go, okay, I've looked at all the variables. I've looked at the coefficients. I'm ready to go. What did I multiply this 10 by to make 30? That would be 3. So if I multiply this by 3, I have to multiply this by 3. So 7 times 3 is 21. Okay? What did I multiply the denominator by, if anything, to make my y to the third z? Nothing. They match, right? So that all stays the same. So we're done with that one. So let's go over to this one. What did I multiply the 6 by to make 30? 5. So I've got to times the top by 5. What did I multiply the y by to make y to the third? Y squared, right? So I've got to times the top by y squared. What did I multiply the bottom, or this by, to make a z in the bottom? A z. So I've got to times the top by z. Okay? So essentially I did times y squared times z to make this. Y times y made that, times z made that. And if I did it to the bottom, I have to do the exact same thing to the top. Okay? So now upstairs, let me get a little closer so you can see this one. So now upstairs I've got 5 times 5, which gave me 25, times y squared. So I write my y squared. and times z times another z. There was already a z up there. Z times z, though, makes z squared. Okay, go over that a few times if you need to, or rewatch that a few times if you need to. Again, I think if you can just kind of roughly go through it and practice it, then when we start doing adding and subtracting on Monday of the fractions, I think you'll probably be just fine. I think it'll kind of click a little more. Okay, so you're doing 5.5. You're going to do multiples of 5 this time. We're doing, and also in the, let me show you. Let me see if I can flip. No. Okay, so it's not letting me flip. So in your book, let me see right here. It says, find the least common multiple by listing. And then in these exercises, it says, find the least common multiple using prime factorization. I don't want you to use prime factorization to do it. Just do it by listing or thinking it through. Okay? So ignore the instructions on that. Just find the least common multiple. So you're going to be doing 5 through 40. Multiples of 5. Okay? So 5 through 40, multiples of 5, which means, again, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40. And then you're done. Okay, great. We will see you guys on Monday. I hope you're having a great week. And go to all your other classes. Remember, this is just math class that is not in the classroom. You're still doing it. Hopefully you're not saving this all for one day. And I think, have cell phone service. So if you want, I will probably have some downtime once in a while that I can text you back or call you back if you're stuck and need help with things. Rely on each other, help each other out. That would be a great resource as well. Or go see the tutors. Okay, thanks guys.